Well, at least the Steelers lost to a good Eagles team. Like, this is one of those weird games as a fan where you're like, if I would have told you that Saquon Barkley was only going to have 65 yards in this game, you would think this would be a Steelers win. What's crazy is in my preview video, I'll tag it here somewhere, I said, I hope that we can hold Saquon to under 100. I hope that we can hold Saquon to da-da-da. We actually did that. But you know what's funny? It didn't matter because our offense was suspect and our defense was confused. And special teams was special only once. So it just kind of is what it is. And so the Steelers lose. The Pittsburgh Steelers lose again to the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. Pennsylvania will always hold a special place in my heart for a ton of reasons, but this is just one of those losses where I'm like, what do you want me to do? Like, what do you want me to do? I just felt like the Eagles were a better team than the Steelers. I think all the way around, they're better than the Steelers. Obviously, their offense is better. Their defense is better. Like, it just seemed like the Steelers were outmatched today. And do I want to come on here and whine and complain about all the things that I saw? Well, yeah, I want to, and I probably still will. But at some point, you just have to recognize game, like game recognize game. Like, the Eagles are just a better football team than the Pittsburgh Steelers. So as much as I want to be upset and be annoyed and all these things, there's a part of me as a fan of the sport that just realizes when you play a team that's just better than you. And that's what I feel like happened here. I think the Eagles are just better than the Steelers. So my concerns with this game is really about how the Steelers looked as opposed to the Eagles, because they're a good team. And I like measuring my team up against good teams. I don't want to measure my team up against bad teams. That doesn't fill my soul. I want to measure my team up against good teams. And today, I got to see an Eagles team that was better than my Steelers team, and it just kind of is what it is at this point. So I'm going to get to the other side of this video and talk about some things that did annoy me, because even when you play a good team, you are still supposed to execute on your side of the ball. There's just some things that I'm seeing that I don't really like, that in my opinion has nothing to do with how good the Eagles are, but it has everything to do with some things the Steelers need to figure out, but I will get to that on the other side of this video. Before I get into anything, I want to mention that I hope that Justin Fields and TJ Watt and get better. I hope that their injuries aren't serious. I hope that they're ready to go on Saturday when we play the freaking Ravens. I hope that also George Pickens and all the other starters that we're missing today also come back and are better and are ready to go on Saturday. But overall, there's a couple of things that frustrate me with this performance. The first person is actually Patrick Queen. There's a couple of plays in this game that I distinctively remember off the top of my head where if Patrick Queen makes a tackle or Patrick Queen turns around, things are different. So I'm not saying we would have won the game had he had a better game, but maybe there were some of those third downs that wouldn't have been converted because he would have been in a better position, or maybe he makes a tackle. And so I just felt like all the praise I gave Patrick Queen for the last couple of weeks, I just didn't really see it this game, and so that was concerning. Always, anytime we can get turnovers and not transition those turnovers to points, I'm going to have an issue with that. I'm going to leave the refs where they are because they are shitty. They've been shitty all year. I can't change that, so I'm just going to let that go and move on. There's two things that are really concerning me. I don't understand this offense right now. I don't understand the personnel that's being used. I don't understand the play calling that's happening. It's almost like we started the game as if we don't know that the game has started. Like, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we practice all week. I don't know why we come out on game days and we look so lost and confused. It's the weirdest thing to me. The Steelers' first three possessions were 3 and outs. 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. So what are we doing? How are we starting games 3 and outs all the time? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and it's confusing. I also don't understand why Cordell Patterson is getting so much playing time. Where is Warren? I get it. Najee fumbles. Cool. So the next person we bring out is Patterson? Where is Warren? Why is he on the team if we're not going to use him? I don't understand why we're using a big and slow Cordell Patterson when we have other options. I don't understand that coaching decision. I also don't understand the coaching decision at the end of the second quarter where we could have saved more time on the clock and we didn't, so terrible clock management. I also don't understand why we're in the Eagles territory. The Eagles team had just driven the ball down our throats over and over and over, and it's 4th down and we punted and we never got the ball back. So it's just like there's a couple of coaching decisions that actually make no sense to me. I have been on my soapbox saying I think coaches need time management training. I think coaches need to spend more time learning and managing the clock in practice, because there's a lot of games that I watched today where the clock management was absolutely atrocious. I don't understand that. If you were trying to get the ball back before half, you call a timeout. Now, I understand that you want to have and save a timeout. That makes sense to me. But we got to stop with a minute and 52 seconds on the clock. I believe there was a minute and 52 seconds on the clock. We waited at least 28 seconds to call a timeout. Why are we waiting? Why are you waiting to call a timeout? In my mind, I am thinking, okay, you get the stop, you call a timeout. That's just how you manage the clock. But for the Steelers, we get a stop and it takes us a minute, time runs off. We're looking around. Call a timeout. Like, I don't understand why can we not manage the clock properly? Again, that has nothing to do with the Eagles. That has every single thing to do with the Steelers. Again, we're running these ugly ass pitch plays. I hate pitch plays, HB tosses, whatever we're going to call them. But the Steelers think that our offense is better when we're running those plays. But it's not. I don't understand why the coaches keep running that play. And yes, it's Najee Harris's fault that he didn't catch the ball and run. But my problem with that whole play call is, why is that our go-to play? We were running the ball just fine, handing the ball off and going up the middle, handing the ball off and going to the right, handing the ball off and going to the left. Why do we have to do this pitch stuff? Why are we doing it? Now, again, Najee's fault on the fumble, not saying that wasn't his fault, but why that play call? I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand this coaching staff decisions. It's so weird to me. I just don't get it. Just to put this game into context also, the Steelers had 2 possessions in the second half of this game. The Steelers had 2 possessions in the second half of this game. One of them was a fumble, and the other one, 7 plays, went backwards. Tomlin didn't go for it on 4th down. So I don't understand what game the coaches are watching. I don't understand what they're not understanding. But this is like, if you know you're going to have limited possessions and you know your offense is struggling, which it clearly was, why aren't we doing things to make things better? The other thing I don't understand is also, you want us to believe, and we're getting a lot of coaches speak on how our wide receiver room is fine. Our wide receiver room is fine. But then when we don't have George Pickens, we're seeing that our receiver room isn't fine. So what are we going to do about that? It's almost like we're being gaslit into thinking our team is better than we can see that it is. And the truth of the matter is, the Steelers offense is consistently inconsistent. The one thing we're going to get from the Steelers offense is it is going to be consistently inconsistent every week. We don't know what we're going to get from this offense. And unfortunately, the consistent part of this offense is usually the play calling, because sitting at home, not watching any film on the Steelers, and I do not go back and watch second games, but I can tell you the same plays the Steelers are going to always run. If I can tell you that and there's no creativity and we're seeing nothing that is different, I don't know what to tell you. I don't want to say that we're getting outcoached, and maybe we are getting outcoached. Maybe we're getting outcoached because our personnel just isn't very good. Maybe we're just one of those teams that happens to have a really good defense that can get turnovers, and then when our offense is consistent and it's clicking and we can keep the other team from scoring, we're going to score points. I don't know. I'm also trying not to overreact to this because we lost to a good team. So there's so many different dynamics I feel like that happen with football, and I feel like when you are a team like the Steelers, there's a lot of mistakes that you can't afford to make because you're not as talented as some of these other teams. For example, the Eagles are a very talented team. Great running backs, great receivers, great defense, great defensive line, great quarterback, great, right? All these things they're good at. So they have a lot more room for error to make than the Steelers do. So the Steelers, in my personal opinion, I think we lost the game in 3 spots. I think the first spot we lost the game is the consistent 3 and outs to start the game. I think that's bad because the play calling, run the ball, then throw on 3rd down. Like, oh, that's so creative. Nobody knows we're going to do that. Like, we did that literally 3 times in a row on offense. So I think the offense starting off slow was an issue. I think the second thing that hurt us obviously was the Najee turnover. I think that turnover was very impactful because it was only 20-13 and we were driving. It was a good drive. And then he turns the ball over. So it just kind of is what it is. But I'm going to be honest with you and say, I think the other issue is we couldn't get off the field on third down. And like I said in the video that I made before this, we just couldn't get off the field on third down. And when you can't get off the field on third down, it's really hard to win football games. And so we won the turnover margin, which is great, but we didn't win the time of possession. The Eagles had the ball for 40 minutes. The Steelers had the ball for 20 minutes. The Steelers only got 10 first downs. So really, in a weird way, we really got our asses kicked in this game, but because of our turnovers and because of probably a little respect of what was going on, the Eagles really didn't ram the ball down our throats, and they didn't score on that last possession. Instead, they kneeled it when they got to the 5. They could have scored a touchdown, but they chose not to. I would like to say, though, if Russell Wilson takes one more freaking sack when he doesn't need to take a sack and gets us out of field goal position, I might lose my crap. But it is what it is. The Steelers lost to a better Eagles team. And, that's where we're at, right? So we're not as good as the Eagles by what I saw today. And so that's where we're at. If that's the ceiling, we're not there yet. So we'll just keep it moving. We have the Ravens coming up and we go to the Ravens. We all know they're going to be expecting their get back, which is fine. The other thing that's weird for me on Saturday, I get to watch the Steelers play on one screen and then the Texas Longhorns play on another screen. So I will be a hot mess all Saturday. And it is what it is because I love football. And in a weird way, I wouldn't have it any other way. But I don't know what to really say with this loss. I don't want to overreact and be like, we suck. I don't want to underreact and be like, we're great, everything is fine, because I feel like somewhere in the middle is probably where we should be, and I'm comfortable being there. All I know is my Texas Longhorns have a chance to advance in the college football playoffs, and my Pittsburgh Steelers have a chance to win the AFC North. And the Steelers are already in the playoffs. So if I'm looking at this in totality, this loss didn't really impact anything. It just sucks to see that because you want your team to win, but it just kind of is what it is at this point. But on Saturday, we have a chance to right the ship, and we have a chance to beat the Ravens, and we have a chance to win the AFC North. And that would be cool to see that, but we have to go to their house. And so here we are, right? It's like end of the season. These games matter, and it's time to just show who we are, who we aren't, and it just kind of is what it is. I feel like this is kind of one of those weird videos because usually I'm so definitive in the things that I have to say, but the truth is we lost to a better team, and there's some ugly things that happen, and it's just kind of frustrating, but all I can do is move on because we play on Saturday, and we have a chance to win the AFC North, so I'm going to stay there. I'm going to end this video. Here we go.